All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Cutlass Classroom. I'm Paul Kingsbury. I'm a retired Fleet Master Chief and author of the Chief Petty Officer's Guide. Thanks for taking some time. I welcome you. If you haven't seen any videos yet, I'm trying to grow an audience here. But thanks for taking some time to swing by, see what's going on, see what kind of content I have to offer. As always, if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. I welcome you and encourage you to hit the subscribe button below and ring the bell to get notified of upcoming episodes, so you can stay in the know with the content I'm generating. And always, I like likes, and I'll take dislikes too, but leave a comment that follows up with some kind of constructive feedback so I can work to improve this channel, or offer your thoughts definitely in the comments below. Tell your experiences, tell your insights, and then offer situations you'd like to hear things about, what you want me to offer some insight and guidance on. I'm just right now building on kind of the CPO guide, but I can break out into many leadership and management topics that you are interested in, and this is what this is all about, is giving you content that you can learn from, that you can reflect on, and then grow and maintain yourself as a sturdy, versatile, and then as always, check out my website, www.cutlassleadership.com. It's on the screen right there. That's where all the blogs, you can access blog articles, my podcast, links to videos, and information on the CPO guide, and a little bit of information about me. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. But a lot of good resources there, and I'll continue to build that and adjust that to make that a credible resource for you as well. So, all right, so in several past episodes to date, I've introduced the CPO guide, talked a little bit about my leadership philosophy, and then introduced you to the power bases. And I've gone through most of those. There's 8 of those, and as we've talked about in prior videos, that's the first foundation of your leadership success, is knowing, building, and understanding your 8 power bases. So we finished those up, and I want to move on to the next thing. You heard me in the other videos compare those to your tools of influence. So just like you have tools in your garage or your shed or wherever it is, you do have tools of leadership, and you've always heard that, reaching into your leadership tool bag. So those power bases are really the tools that you've got. I'll discuss communication later. But just like any other tools, they can just sit there, but they can be used for a variety of things. So for example, a hammer, I can use a hammer to hammer things in, but I can also use a hammer to pry, and then I could use a hammer if I wanted to. I could throw it across the room and try to hit someone with it, or do some just ridiculousness. But those tools do have uses. They have applications that they're supposed to be used in that make them most effective. The same goes with your leadership. And that brings us to the next kind of subtopic that we're going to get into, or the next big topic area, and that's called your influence tactics. So if your tools of power, your power bases, your influence tactics are the ways you can use those tools. And like I said, you've got those power bases, but you can apply them through several different influence tactics. For example, I can reach in, I can grab to my expert power base or my coercive power base, and I can use it and apply it through one of these 10 different influence tactics. And we're going to start to cover them in this episode. In this one, I'm going to cover the first 5, and then the second episode, I'll go in the second 5 and offer some advice on the use. So let's get into them. So the first influence tactic you've got available is what we call rational persuasion. And what this really is using facts, figures, data, maybe your own experience, proven experience, to try to convince people, or really influence them to do something, maybe change their mind about something. So you're simply using logic and arguments to get things across. And you use this probably in everyday life several times. And this can range from education and training in a formal classroom setting to just reading papers, or influencing people with, hey, have you read, have you seen, have you heard, kind of influence tactics. But it's using sometimes your own personal figure or your personal experiences and backing those up with facts and figures. So that is the first thing you've got available. And as I'll reinforce as we go through these, there are 10 of these influence tactics, but you always start at what I'm going to list these in order is the top 1, right? These are the least kind of pressure-based, or the least coercive-based pressure tactics. And they start out with just assuming rational logic and trying to persuade people with facts and those kind of things. So that's number 1. That's the thing you've got, and you've probably used that one. And also, as we go along, and perhaps in the Cutlass podcast, you can listen to, I've given examples of how you can use these different influence tactics. And if you listen up in those podcast episodes or other videos that I'll do here, I'll actually put these influence tactics, and I'll try to connect them to either things I've seen in real life, things you may have seen, or frankly, things you've seen in the movies, right? I'll tie that to an influence tactic. I'll call out a certain scene that's probably pretty well known and say, hey, this is that example of that influence and tactic. because I think it's important for you to see the influence tactic, understand it. You've seen these behaviors before. You might not know this social science name behind it, but once you've seen it and you've seen different people do it, you'll start to understand you can model those behaviors, and you'll know yourself and know that, hey, there's a certain way that I like to deliver a certain influence tactic, and you'll be comfortable with it, but at least you'll know all the influence tactics you've got available. So let's move on to the second one. The second one's going to be called apprising. So perhaps you've used rational persuasion, you've tried to sit down and explain someone with logic, facts, or figures. Then you turn to something like apprising, which is you start to go, okay, here's why this is, why facts say you should do this, but let's talk about why this is in your personal benefit to do this, okay? And we'll couple this. In many cases, you can couple these influence tactics together. So if I want to convince you to stop smoking, perhaps I start out and I start down with the facts on death and what it does to your body and the rates of cancer and those kind of things. And then I can switch into why it's in your personal best interest to stop smoking. Not just for your personal health. Perhaps you have a family now, you've got kids, right? People around you love you, or the impacts it has on, it leaves smoke, smell on your body, and it kind of turns people off and, reduces opportunity for people to come engage you, something like that, whatever it is. But that's another influence tactic you've got, and that one is called apprising. So you work down, you offer some facts, you offer some figures, you apprise, you offer why it's in that person's best interest, and then you can go to your third one, and this is called an inspirational appeal. So as it suggests, right, you're going to use inspirational stories, champion lofty goals, and really try to connect to the inner motivation in this person and connect with them on a more personal type level. And this can range from a variety of things, right? And when we get into this power base and influence theory, realize this can be used on one-on-one situations, but it can also be used on one-on groups. So if you're talking to a large group and you want to inspire people, this is the tactic you're going to go to. So you've seen this when you think of inspirational appeals. Think of Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. You think of John F. Kennedy. You think of all these inspirational people, famous singers that connect with you through music. But you can do this one-on-one with people with your own personal connection as well. So, and it doesn't have to be this big hoo-yah cheerleading kind of approach, right? It can be just very subtle. It can be meaningful. It can be one-to-one and connecting in a very authentic way. So you can inspire with examples, with lofty words, with very emotional language, and then you can inspire by, hey, I know you can do this. You've got this in you, that kind of language going forth. So you can use rational persuasion, you go to apprising, and then perhaps you can bring in some inspirational appeal as well. And again, you can couple all three of those as you need to. You can couple apprising with inspirational appeal. This is in your best interest. I know you can do it. I know you can do this. You can get this kind of done. You can back that up with facts and figures. Hey, the facts say this, and I know you're capable of doing this kind of stuff, okay? So that's where you're going to use an inspirational appeal. I can even link it. I think I mentioned that in the coercive power base video. I can even link it to my coercive power. So if I'm trying to pressure someone a little bit, you can couple it in with the threat, right? And go, hey, you're better than this. I know you can do better, but if you don't improve, I'm going to have to do X, right? And that's how you can connect the threat, and you can support this inspirational appeal with a coercive power base tool. Okay, so again, you can see where you can vary through the different power bases with this, or you can couple what I'll cover in episode 2. Episode 2 is called a pressure tactic. All right, the next one you can go to is called consultation. So this is kind of where I'm moving on to. Maybe I've got a group or a person who's kind of hesitant to do something, or a team that wants to be empowered. So I'm going to go to the group. Perhaps they don't like the direction I'm giving, or they don't understand the outcome I'm after. So now I'm going to come into the group or with the person and go, hey, I'm really thinking I want to get this thing kind of done. What do you guys think is the best way to do it? Okay. And again, you started with facts and figures, like, hey, the data or my experience says this. I know we can get this done on a timeline. So you bring some inspirational appeal. You probably apprise a bit, like, hey, if we can get this done at a certain time, here's what's in it for you guys, right? We can get off early, whatever it is. And then you come in with a consultation. It's a very democratic approach. So this is when you go to people and go, hey, what do you guys think? What's the best way to get this done? Or what's the best way to achieve the goal? And by doing that, you unleash creativity from your team. You brainstorm, you unleash those ideas, and then you start to develop and give them ownership and buy into it, okay? Doesn't mean necessarily because you consult with them that you take their idea, but at least you're willing to go to the group, open it up. And then even if you decide not to take their idea, always acknowledge that, hey, I hear what you say. I decided to go this way. Here's why, and I need your support, right? So you come back in with some other influence tactics as well. So that one is called consultation. Number 5 is called ingratiation. So this is where you start to use praise and compliments to get people to do things. So again, this could be, just, knowing your people again is like, hey, some people like that sense of your validation, right? So using praise and compliments. So ingratiation could be just something as simple as like, you know what, maybe it's a person who has leadership capability, but they're not confident enough to step up. So this is a person you're to go and engage with and go, hey, I really think I want you to lead this evolution, or I want you to do this thing for me, whatever it is. And I know you're the person to do it because I've seen you do this, and I've seen you do this, and you've got these knowledge, and you've got the skills, and you've got the attributes. You've got the drive and the motivation, the charisma to execute this thing. You're the person I need on the team, okay? You're the person I need to lead this kind of event. Or flip it, right? Hey, don't do this thing, right? This isn't you. This isn't you. You're better than this, right? You've seen that a lot. That's an ingratiation tactic, okay? So use those things together. Again, you can see how they all couple together. So those are your first 5, and you've seen people use these. Watch videos of people, or watch movies, watch people in the workplace as you get around and you listen to people, how they try to influence you. Try to pick up on how they're trying to influence you, or watch how people are influencing other people or groups, see how they respond, and then make your assessment. But now you've at least seen 5 influence tactics. You can go, oh, I know what they're using there. And I'm not giving you permission to just kind of blow off what they're doing or to kind of use it against them. But you can see how they do it, how they work well, what resonates with you. That'll be very insightful for you as a follower, frankly, right? Because we're all followers and we're learning about ourselves. So there's a little introduction to the first 5 influence tactics. Again, if you want to check it out, check out Chapter 2 of the Chief Petty Officer's Guide. I cover it there. That one's called The Fundamentals of CPO Power and Influence, and I cover all the influence tactics there with a brief introduction. And then Cutlass Podcast, episode number 1, where I do an introduction to the Cutlass leadership philosophy, and then also Cutlass Podcast, episode number 35, 9 ways to be more persuasive. So again, I dive into these influence tactics. So if you couple it with this video, maybe reading Chapter 2 of the CPO Guide, you'll have a good step off on your influence tactics. So, all right, thanks again for joining me. In Chapter 2, I'm going to cover 5 more of these and give you a little more advice on them. Now go out, reflect, take what you learn, and go be a positive, accomplished leader who makes a positive difference in the personal and professional life of your people. I'll see you in the next episode.